Welcome back to the Alliance Goal Digger podcast. I'm Rachael, Auyer, the host, and with us we have a follow-up interview with Hannah Nabors. Hannah has been a patient with us for a little over a year, and we got some stuff done this past year. Plus, Hannah has achieved a lot of goals. So we wanted to take a moment to recap and discuss all the things that she has been able to accomplish since receiving a running prosthesis, as well as what she's looking forward to in the future. So welcome back, Hannah Nabors.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Well, we have some fun things to cover.
Some fun things.
I want to start with good stuff, and then we'll go to kind of the grind part of what took you so long to kind of get to the groove of being able to achieve all your goals. But I wanted to talk about flying on an airplane. To me, this is the coolest story, that you flew on an airplane to come and have treatment in Gainesville.
Yes. So as we were leading up to Boston, I needed to adjust my running socket, and we're nearing the end of the school year, and I had used all of my sick days the year before for the accident. So I was like low on sick days. I had to save my personal days for Boston. And I just thought, how am I going to get to Gainesville and not miss any school? And so I was sitting at a baseball game, just kind of like talking out loud about my frustrations. And some friends of ours said, well, why don't you just let us fly you? And at first I was like, oh, okay, maybe. But then when I got home, I was like, wait, this is a really, really good idea. So I think we did it twice.
Yes.
I went to our local airport and met our friend Matt and his co-pilot Brian. Met them at 6 a.m. I would come with their coffee orders, show up. We'd get on their tiny personal plane, come fly up here to Gainesville. Jason would be waiting on us at the airport, get out. He'd do what he needed to do. We'd get back in the plane, and then I would be in my classroom when the first bell rang at 7:45. It was wild.
I just feel like we needed to start the top of the hour with, I'm talking to Batman right now.
Yes, actually, yes. It was so great. To see the sunrise, but just, school starts and they're coming in and I'm like, well, I've already been to Gainesville and back, friends. Have a seat.
Yep. So. Nothing can stop you then. Okay. So we are nearing up to your year anniversary of getting your running prosthesis.
Yes.
And I wondered if you could talk to our patients and our audience about what it was like to get the prosthesis, some of the initial days, and how you have achieved your goal of running the Boston Marathon.
Yes. So we talked about the last time my community fundraising for the Blade. And so I got to come up here and try some that's so important, like being able to try the different blades. So Jason and I got to try some, and I chose one that was a fit for me, and we did a test socket, and I got to bring it home. Jason didn't tell me initially that the test socket would be heavier than the final. So initially running with it was really difficult. Lots of tears, lots of frustrations. But I think I got the final one in October, and everybody had said, it'll come back quickly, but I didn't believe that in the beginning. Even just running a mile, I was like, great, I'm never going to be able to run 2 miles, much less run with my running group again. But at the same time, I was so thankful to run any miles, just any time I ran anything, whether it was 50 meters or 2 miles, I just cried for the first, several months. I'd finish any workout and then I would just cry, but it was happy tears. It was just thankfulness of being able to run. But I think my running group was kind of chomping at the bit for come back. And I'm like, guys, we're going really slow. And they're like, no, we'll go really slow. But they were right. And it did come back pretty quickly. And I just kept surprising myself. I was like, oh, a month ago I was running this pace, but now I'm already running this pace. And we got into the winter, and there were mornings that it was freezing or it had snowed, and I did not want to get out of my warm bed. But I just thought, Hannah, this is what you prayed for. You've been praying to reclaim this whole time. Don't sleep on an answered prayer. Get your tail out of bed and go run. And sure enough, I would, and just be so thankful that I got out. And I don't miss a run. I don't miss a workout because it is an answered prayer, and the Blade gave me back my freedom and helped me rebuild my life.
That's so beautiful. I wish our audience could just see your face, because really you're the same person. It's not that you've changed at all, but there is a light back in your eyes and there's a tenacity. Hannah and I pretty much talked every day last year, it felt like, because we did something else that was really cool. I thought we could talk about. We had legislation passed. When you came on, we were talking to all of our legislators saying, hey, do you think you could include state employees next year? And come hell or high water, we made it happen, didn't we?
Just unbelievable. Like I think about in January, like on my planning being like, okay, I'm going to call this legislator right now before they take the kids to lunch or after school, just reaching out. And I would have talked to anybody and everybody just to get the word out. But then to be a part of the process, you know, I had never been on jury duty. I'd never been like to the Capitol, and I just had no point of reference other than like my own, you know, the state's case against the driver in my trial. Like that was the closest that I had. And so getting to be there on March 10th, Limb Loss and Limb Awareness Day, and just be a part of the process was amazing. And I just never thought it won't go through, whether that was like ignorant optimism or not. Like I just never saw it going any way different. I mean, of course I was nervous about it. Of course it was like a huge item on my prayer list, but I just thought like, we're going to do this. And if it doesn't come through this year, like we'll be right back. And I'm just going to come back again and again and again until this comes through. And I'm so excited about it. And last week, our town started an amputee support group. Woo, yay! Yes, yay! Yes. So they meet once a month. And so I think this was their second meeting. And they invited me and I got to talk about it, and just to see the other people there like light up at the possibility like that this could affect them, or this is something that they're going to have access to. There were like 1,000 questions. And one of the prosthetic offices in our town, like they have a new practitioner, and, you know, he was excited. And so it was one thing for me, like when it was mine, like I'm going to get to have access to this. This is going to change. But then to be able to see the faces of people who will also benefit from it was just unmatched.
That's so true, and the reason we did it. So excited that in 2027, as long as we get it all appropriated or in the budget, which if you know Hannah and I, we'll be happy to talk to our legislators to ensure all of the budget item line is going towards this.
Correct.
And we are confident that it's not going to be a problem. I wondered if you could share with our audience some of the things you've learned from getting back to running. And then very similar to running a marathon is the legislative session. It's a little bit of a different marathon, more of a stop, run really fast. It's more like a high intensity interval training.
Yes, a speed workout.
A speed workout, and then you take a long rest, and then it's another speed workout.
People told me in the recovery process before running, like, I can't count the number of times. Every time I came to something and it was like, it just takes time. You know, everything. Give it time. It just takes time. Like that was like, stop saying that. Like it was, I got so frustrated because you don't want anything to take time. Like you want it to happen immediately. And so somewhere along the way of recovery, I finally had to surrender and be like, okay, yes, like it takes time. And so I think coming into running, I already knew that. And as much as I wanted to be able to go out and run with my group immediately, I knew that it took time and I needed to do it correctly because I wanted to do it for a long time and I want to be able to take care of my body and I want to feel good through this process. And I think it's the same with the legislation. Like it is a process and it is conversations and it's not answers quickly. You know, it's a lot of waiting around for like, did this happen? Did it not? What's the next move? What's the answer? So I'd learned a lot about surrendering timelines to the Lord through both of those. But I think being a distance runner prior to, I am more comfortable being uncomfortable for long periods of time. Like I can recognize that like, hey, this is going to be really tough right now, but also it's going to just be a season. Like I can get through this really tough workout because in an hour, like I'm going to be back home with my cup of coffee. And so I think even though it was such a wild couple of months with the legislation and training for Boston and getting my leg and all the things, like I recognize like I'm going to get through this now. And then when things quiet down a little bit, like after May, like I'm going to use that time to like recoup and resettle. So this isn't forever. I'm going to just grind away at it right now. And then when the season ends, then I can take that rest.
That is great advice, no matter what you're training for. All right, now I want to hear everything about Boston. Everybody, I already know a lot, and so I just know our audience wants to talk about the experience, setting this big, hairy, audacious goal, achieving it with your team around you. I would love to hear your perspective.
You know, it was a wild dream, like said from the literal bed that they roll you from the OR in, without any knowledge of running blades or prosthetics or any of that. But it was one I held on to. And I think I held on to it because other people believed in it in the early stages, maybe even a little more than me. And, you know, you and Jason helped me get a blade, and Jared Wallace reached out to his friend Noel and helped me get a bib. And so it was definitely a group effort, but also beautiful the way that the Lord like heard my heart and, you know, arranged for it to come to be. And he didn't have to, right? He would still be good. And I would still love the Lord if it hadn't. And so just his favor in allowing me to do this just blew my mind. But as we got closer, I just constantly woke up and thought, like, I can't believe Boston's in a week. I can't believe it's, you know, in 2 days. And when we woke up that morning, my friend Jamie that ran with me, we both looked at each other and were like, we cannot believe like we're fixing to do this. Like this has been like this has been a long dream, but then a short dream after the amputation. Like we can't believe this day is here. And like the town does such an incredible job of just the whole weekend, and especially like Taylor with the para and adaptive program, like everything, it ran so smoothly from like getting the bus to the start and then the start to your wave. And then, I mean, even the porta potties, like I was like so impressed. Like it's a well-oiled machine, but the first 7 miles went by so quickly because it was an atmosphere I've never been in. I mean, we probably must have like high-fived like 80,000 children's hands in that first 7 miles. Like they're just all along the road, hands out. Like I remember looking down and thinking, oh my gosh, it's already been 7 miles. There was not one stretch of road that was not covered in people cheering. Like you think about like 26.2 miles. Like usually in marathons I did before the accident, like there was always dead space, like on the backside or like out. And so I think I had kind of prepared like, okay, if we get out there, like maybe I'll turn on my music, you know, like it's going to be quiet. There was no dead space. I mean, there were people everywhere, and I had to stop looking them in the eye because the spectators were just so passionate and so heartfelt about cheering you on that it would just break me. Like people I didn't even know. And Noel, you know, the Born to Run Foundation had given me a running tank to run in. And so I would just run and people would just be like, you know, you've got it, Born to Run. You can do it, Born to Run. Like not knowing my name, but just recognizing like what was on my shirt and cheering me. I mean, it just felt like so individualized. And I've never been to the Masters, but you know, you can't have your phone. And so the spectators are like all in watching it and wanting the golfers to do well and cheering them to do well. And Boston was the same. Like these spectators nobody's looking at their phone, like nobody's, you know, just laissez-faire watching it. Like they are all actively involved. And I would stop to like adjust like my sleeve or, you know, like, or if I had gotten like sweat in my sock or something. And as soon as I would go again, it would just be like this uproar of just people like, yes, you can go again. Like you can do it. And somewhere along the way, I had gotten into a bad habit of when my leg got tired, like more or less swinging my prosthetic rather than bending my knee. So about mile 14, like my hip started to, you know, kind of hurt. And we stopped at several medical stations and they all just offered Vaseline, which at the time was very frustrating. I was like, I cannot eat Vaseline. I cannot put Vaseline on my muscle. Like, how is this going to help? And so I just kept telling myself, like, this isn't about performance. Like, I didn't even really set a goal ahead of time. I was like, this is about possibility. Like, this is about like proving what's possible and what God can do through community. It doesn't matter. Like, I just want to cross this line. And I promised my students that I would cross before the end of the school day, because I knew that they were all tracking me. And, I think Jamie at one point looked at her watch and she was like, Hannah, like buses are going to load in an hour and a half. And I was like, we have to. I made this promise. And so sure enough, we did. And I crossing that line, it wasn't something I did by myself. It was a group effort. It was a community effort, from the fundraiser to everyone involved, my physical therapist, people who helped me get there, everybody who prayed, just my town. It wasn't just me crossing the line. It was everybody that has been involved over the last year. And I think crossing that line, I fell apart. I also learned that I'm not, I'm an ugly crier. The series of pictures at the finish line, the first one's okay, but they really go downhill. But it was just kind of this release of I'm here and I have overcome X, Y, and Z. And I, had this blister, or I had to learn to crawl, or I had to learn how to stand up and brush my teeth by myself. All of that culminates here. And it was just I made it. It's going to be okay. I can do this. And so once I got myself back together, we went back to our hotel room and showered, and our balcony could see the finish line. And we didn't even eat dinner till late that night, because we sat on the balcony and just watched the finish line for hours, just watched people cross, cheered for people. And it really was the best of humanity. The people that would help each other up, or would root for somebody, or give somebody an arm lock to be able to get to the finish line. I've never seen anything like it. And I, on our way on the bus from the airport, we met this lady, and she was like, it's I think she said 23rd Boston. And we were like, why? Why would you come? But we were like, no, every year that we qualify, we will come right back. And I think that everybody, even if you don't run it, you have to go and you have to be a part of that atmosphere. Because now I'm will other marathons compare? Now I'm spoiled. You go on a Disney cruise and you're like, well, will the carnival be as good? Because Disney was really great. But I don't have words for just how beautiful of a day and a moment it was. And I lived in it, for the next several days. And you wear your medal, and everybody from the custodian at the mall to I think Delta had employees dress up like tennis shoes the next day at the airport when you're flying out, and they come around and with this snack cart in the airport at the gate, and they cheer for each of you individually, or at breakfast. Boston knows to recognize if that medal's on, and they just celebrate you like you won the whole thing.
Oh, that's so special.
So good.
Okay. It took less than a year for you to fully train and to be ready for
Yes, we started in October, and then we ran it in April.
So I wondered if you could talk to the person whose goal is not Boston.
Right.
But they have their goal. What would you say on their lowest day? Because I know you had low days.
Oh, for sure.
What would you say to them?
I think having a goal is imperative. Having something to chase after, whether it's something that's going to be a 5-year plan or a 2-week plan, and not just one long goal. I want to run Boston, but step one, I have to figure out how to crawl to the bathroom. I had to figure out how to walk on a prosthetic. So it was this big goal made up of a lot of little goals, a lot of little checkpoints. And so I think when I wanted to get discouraged, how am I ever going to be able to run 26 miles? It was good to be well, I've already been able to, take a shower by myself, or, figure out how to put my shrinker sock on at night, or each of these checkpoints was just encouraging to me to be okay, I've been able to do this, this, and this, so I can keep doing this. But I think that it's also something that I needed to say it out loud. If it had just been a goal in my heart, I still would have gone after it. I'm pretty stubborn, but saying it out loud rallied the people around me. And so it was, let me help you, with this, or let me help get the kids to school so that you can get this workout in because it's been raining all morning, or just bits and pieces. And so when other people start to believe in that goal, like, it gives you even more confidence that you can do it. And then when people were like, I know you're going to do it, like, I know you're going to be able to do it, it was just like reaffirming to me to be like, well, if Susie thinks I can do it, like, I can do this, like, and then when it becomes a group effort, like the celebration after too is amazing. I actually just finished writing thank you notes like a week ago, which I was a little late on the draw, but just to see the village that supported that goal, and they weren't running it and they weren't there, but they were just as invested in seeing it. And I can't remember if I mentioned it the last time, but a little girl in our community, her mom reached out to me. Like, I didn't know that she was in our community. I still am meeting amputees, but she is an amputee, and her mom was like, you did this. She was like, and my daughter wants a running blade. And I was like, worth it, worth whatever it took to get there, because I want her to know that she can get one, and that the possibilities are endless for her. So
that is special. Oh man, to think about that little girl, and everybody needs a hero and somebody to look up to, and you're inspiring those in your community, not even if they run or not,
right,
to go after a goal. And so that's where I wanted to transition. Mm-hmm. I know Boston was your thing.
Yes.
But how did you kind of know it was your thing? Or what are some signs of you're a big goal setter? Mm-hmm. I'm thinking about the person who is just not quite sure what to do. They just kind of has no future focus, no, like, I'm not quite sure what I could even go after. What would you encourage them to do?
Well, I think I chose Boston because I wanted to prove to myself after the amputation that I was still the same girl. Like, I lost my leg, but it didn't change my personality. It didn't change what I loved. I loved running. It didn't change, the goals or the dreams that I had. Like, I needed to prove to myself that I was still myself. And so I think if there was something that you loved doing or being a part of beforehand, to be able to set a goal that kind of lives in that same realm, it is helpful, because initially you struggle with identity, not even just like how I look physically, but like, how does this change my life? Like, what does this mean for my life now? Right. Like, I thought it was going this way, and now like it's going this way. And so a lot of that last year was reclaiming. Initially I wanted to reclaim normalcy, meaning like, I want to be able to go back to work, or I want to be able to move back in with my family. I want to be able to make it home. And so I wanted to reclaim bits and pieces of my life that were important to me, and running was. And so I think, another reason Boston was so important to me was it didn't change my heart. It didn't change my character. It didn't change, the way that I love the Lord or how I want to interact with people. Like, it literally is just physical, and it's not forever. Like, there will be a day when, my health is restored. And so, my life is about so much more than this one limb. And so I think choosing something that has been near and dear to you to begin with is a good place to start.
No, I love that. And every runner, like, that's Boston is like on their list. If you're like a real, I would consider myself more a jogger, but I hang out with a lot of real runners, and Boston, they've done it. They always attempted to do it. It's a big deal.
Yes.
Now that you've conquered Boston,
yes,
you are looking forward to this new journey, which we were talking about prior to turning the mics on, and a lot of funny things. But overall, you're now getting in a wetsuit with a cap, crawling to water. I mean, working out with some 70-year-olds. Yeah. Like, I want to hear all about it.
So when I was training for Boston, I didn't want to write my own training plan. Could I? Yes. But I was afraid that I would doubt myself. So like, if I put like, okay, today I need to run 7 miles, and I'd be like, should it really been 7? Maybe it should be 10. Like, I wanted to set like gutters in bowling, like, to make sure that I was doing it right. And so I went on an Instagram look. I mean, Instagram's been so helpful to me since
I know.
So I went down this tunnel, and I don't know how I found her, but Chris Palmquist came across my feed, And so I reached out to her and I told her who I was and what I wanted to do. And she was like, yes, I would love to help you. I think this is great. She was like, but when it's all said and done, I want you to do a triathlon. And I was like, okay, like that's a fair trade-off, I guess. Like I want to do everything active anyway. So I'll do Boston and then I'll try a triathlon. And so I needed to stick to my word, and I started, I think I did my first triathlon 2 weeks ago in Knoxville. And at that time I had been biking. I borrowed a bike from a gentleman at church, and a road bike. And I had been learning to ride that for about three or 4 weeks. And I had learned to swim about 2 weeks prior, like post accident. And so it was just all new to me. And of course, I think I've never met her in person. I want to say she's in Chicago. And so I had to talk some friends into going with me, which is a lot harder to talk people into doing a triathlon with you than it is like doing a 5K.
Yeah, getting your hair wet is a real deal.
I'm going to need you to swim. I need you to find a bike. And so I borrowed a bike from a gentleman at church. One of the ladies that I met swimming in the pool gave me a swim cap. I ordered a helmet from Walmart because I previously was not a bike rider, and I just showed up 100% green, all of my stuff was just dumped in a pile at the transition area. I didn't know you were supposed to lay it out and just winging it,
In a Walmart bag.
Yes. I mean, pretty much I brought a baseball beach towel. I don't know, and they gave you have to wear a sticker on your bike, and there's one on your helmet. And then you have a bib, and they handed it all to me. And I was like, but what do I do with this? I don't know.
Did they write on your arm too?
So they do. They do. Your number on your arm and your age on your calf, which first of all is a little rude, but during the run, it's super helpful because that's the last piece. And you're like, oh, I need to chase this girl down. And I'm like, oh, wait, no, she's in her 30s. You keep going, girl. You got it. I'm just looking for everybody else. So that is a really helpful piece. But I had no idea what a time should be. It was really it was like Boston. It was really just about possibility. I just want to do everything. So I'm just going to do this too. And I crossed the line and I guess did a lot better than I had initially planned to.
All right, come on, tell us all. I'm just so proud of you. And this is, she is not a bragger, but we need to brag on what the Lord has done in her life. And go ahead and tell us your time.
Okay, so I finished it in 1:26. So it's a triathlon sprint for paras, which is usually anywhere from a 400 to 750 meter swim, always a 20K bike ride, and a 3 mile or a 5K run. So I finished, and it was a smaller one, but I was top 10 for the females, and I just was like, okay, well, guess this is a good time. That was fun. Okay, triathlon checked off. But Chris contacted me and got in touch with a lady named Auburn at USA Triathlon, and she said, your time is 10 minutes under the qualifying time for the USA Paratriathlon National Championships. Would you like to register? And I said, well, here's some things to know about me. Today was my first day. And I don't, I'm really just figuring out the gears on a bike. I don't know. But ever the opportunist, okay. I was like, oh, well, I mean, I guess, okay.
Got nothing else going on.
Yeah. So I guess, I guess I'm going to be doing triathlons a little longer. But I have been trying to pay more attention to it. And I did borrow, a tri-suit, everything's borrowed because I didn't want to invest in it because I thought I was just going to do this one hobby. But now I'm pretty interested in it. And I think it speaks to my endurance heart and, being able to push, but I mean, the biking is something new for me. I don't know how to pace on. And the first in that triathlon in Knoxville, I wasn't ready for it to start, and so I had no idea how deep the water was, how cold it was, and so I just fling off of this dock from a sitting position. I make it a third of the way, and I panic because I can't see anything. I can't touch. There's no walls. I don't know how to tread water. I was And so I kind of came up and like doggy paddled. I was like, like trying to catch my breath. And then I realized like literally all I could do was swim. Like that's all I could do. That was the best I could do. And so there were a lot of hiccups in it where I was like, okay, I could see where I could do this better. Like I could see where I could kind of improve. But I was really proud of myself. And I think too, because it's just like a field of, everybody able-bodied, so I was proud to be able to do it. And I just want to do everything. I went to a adaptive golf clinic yesterday. So I'm, basically PGA Tour ready. Not really. I was really terrible, but I want to do all the things. So I asked when it was, and they're like, well, it's in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I was like, well, okay, I've never been there. And when is it? And she said, August 9th. Okay, so less than 2 months from today. Okay, so I guess we're going to go for it. But it's wild because last year on August 9th, you came to town and I walked a 5K on my prosthetic and just thought that like that was the greatest thing that I'd ever done. And now a year later on August 9th, I'll be in Milwaukee, apparently at the national championships.
Yeah, just so many things. Mainly, I just want to say congratulations. Congratulations on finding a new hobby.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then also, I wondered, what do your kids think?
Well, so we had a conversation about it, and I initially, because I was like, mom's gonna have to get to Knoxville, but it's summer, so it's a little more flexible. But getting home, like they were just so thrilled for me and so excited. And no matter what I do, like if I went out tomorrow and tried to snow ski, my children would be like, I want you to go to the Olympics. Well, that's precious, honey. But the reality is, but they are believers. They are believers in me because I'm their mom. They cheer me on. But I was like, boys, you don't have to know everything, like how a triathlon works. And you don't have to be great at everything. You just have to start it. Like just start. You don't have to, you can use borrowed things and not know the first, like anything, but you just have to start. And I think at that race, like before we started, I think they made an announcement like, this is so-and-so's first triathlon and so-and-so. And people then came and were like, this is where your sticker goes. Like, this is where your helmet goes. Because the people that do things like this love it. Just like I love running, like they love this and they want to share a love of this sport with other people. And there's just not a community that I've met since the accident, whether it's like the amputee community or the triathlon community that is just, you don't just fall in love with. Like it's not a community I would have known otherwise, but just the best people.
No, I love that. And just to hear how you've been supported and encouraged throughout this whole experience. I'd love to talk about your two buddies who you're training with in Rome.
Yes.
Give them a little shout out.
Yes. So I have been dragging people into it with me, but I think it's important that you also find people that do those things that love it. And so I was invited to ride with Jimmy and Francois and in town, and Francois just had his 70th birthday.
Happy birthday, Francois.
I know. And so they will cycle at like 10 till 5 in the morning, which is hard in the summer as a teacher. I'm like, I don't want to get up. But have been super helpful in like, you need to pump up your tires. I need to pump up my tires. Like, I just thought that they would stay the same. Or like, this is this crank and this cassette. What do those words mean? Help me understand. So they have been great at teaching me about cycling. And then in the pool that I have been giving access to swim in, there's a great group of retired folks, and like, here, take the swim cap, it'll break your hair. And so like Lynn and Ruth is going to do the Chattanooga triathlon with me this weekend, and she is amazing in the same age bracket as my friend Francois. And just I think it's important to also realize that age or limb loss is not a limit setter. Like,
so important. Whether
you have two legs, whether you're 90 or 14, like, you are the only one that sets limits on yourself. And those don't have to exist. And so I think as I move into things, I want to be like, okay, guys, I'm from a small town. I'm like a nobody. I'm a mom. I'm a teacher, like rudely just entered my 40s, but like, I'm going to do all these things, like I'm going to keep going. And if I can do this, then you can do this kind of thing.
That's so good. And I think a great model for your children, for sure. Even the ones that you teach. I know in our previous podcast, we talked about how important it is that you never give up and that you show your students that their lives have significance and importance and that they can do these sort of things too.
Yeah.
And you continue to do that. Have you found any obstacles that you're still working through that you're kind of tossing around, and how are you tossing those around?
Well, I will say I have not been to, so I've now done two, fixing to do my third, but I've not been to a triathlon that is set up for me. And so like this past weekend, I had to do a lot more advocating for myself. Like I want to do this. So, I think at one of them I was like, can I have a chair? Like to put my leg on, and they like went down to the lost and found and brought a chair up. And I was like, okay, you know what? Fine. Okay, we'll do that. But, so it's not, sometimes you go to things like the adaptive golf clinic yesterday, and like everything's already set up for you to be successful. Any of the tools you need, access you need, but then you go to things where that's not there, and you have to say, I want to do this, and I am willing to problem solve and do as much of it as I can myself, but like, I need you to help me. And so sometimes that's received as, yes, absolutely. I think it's amazing. I want you to be able to do this. We're going to help you. And sometimes it's like, well, we're really short on helpers. So like you can just kind of, whatever you need to do kind of thing. And so I think that has been kind of eye-opening to me, especially as I've left my like sweet town to go and do things, and just balance. I think I can like feel like after the bill and, running Boston, like I can feel this stirring to want to give my time to things that maybe I wouldn't have considered before, and pray about like, what does that look like? Does it change my day to day? Does it not? But I know we talked about Hebrews 10:39, like after my swim, it's freak out in the water. The next time I was like, I am going to just like say a Bible verse to give my brain something to think about. And I think that is what I've held on to, is like, we are not those who shrink back and are destroyed, but have faith and obtain life. Like this isn't going to hold me back. We're not going to just shrink away to a dark corner. Like I am going to live this on behalf of the kingdom, and I'm going to live it well. And I'm going to be out there so that people can see, yes, I'm different, but I'm still the same. This is maybe you haven't seen somebody with a prosthetic come and do this triathlon, but now you have, and now you're like, wow, if she can do it, then maybe so-and-so can do it. Or like, how can we make this more inclusive so that, other people can do it? And so I really want to like forge a path and push the limit on what's possible, and just make communities more inclusive and realize that we're not that different.
No, so powerful, and something that's just sloshing around in my mind, because I have a son who has some differences, and I shared with a friend recently, sometimes it's really hard to be other people's teacher, because you experience their first response. And, it is hard. It is hard to navigate accommodating and not knowing, and how can you do it? And then there's an area of the person who needs the accommodating to say, hey, I need help, or I need this. And that's vulnerable.
Yes.
And admitting I need it to be a little bit different, and I still want to be a part, or my son still wants to be a part. How can we find common ground? I think we figured that out at the Capitol this past year, common ground.
Yes.
But how are you navigating those conversations, or how could you encourage those who, you didn't always live with limb loss.
No.
Now you do.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you have this experience, what would you say to people who, for the first time, this is their first experience? What are some helpful things that they could be thinking about when engaging with this population?
I think it's about perspective. So this past weekend, the entrance to the swim was you like jogged in from the beach into the lake, but I didn't have my prosthetic on because you don't swim in one. So I'd already given it to a friend to go to the exit. And so I just had to like get down and like scoot on my butt into the water. And I got in there and this man was coming by me and he stopped and like fist pumped me and was like, I'm so proud of you. Like somebody I don't know. And like one of the photographers got that picture. And, you know, afterwards, a friend of mine was like, that made me so sad for you that that's like how you had to get into the water. And I was like, I can see where that would have been a thought that crossed her mind, but it wasn't for me because I was like, I'm going to get to do this thing that I want to do. Like it doesn't matter how I have to get into the water. I'm just excited to be able to do it. So I think a lot of it is perspective and patience. You're right. Like it can be exhausting to constantly be like forge this path and teach. But at the end of the day, if you and I have a conversation and I'm like, hey, Rachael, this is me. This is what I need to move forward. When you walk away from that, like you've already got a nugget. So you've already got a groundwork. So if you have a similar conversation with somebody of a different disability or even the same, you have something to build off of. So it takes a little bit more, but I feel like people walk away with some more information that they didn't have. And so maybe a year from now, when you run into the same conversation, like you're like, oh yeah, I know how to do that. Let me help you because you and I had that one now.
No, I think there's just something so important to being available and being integrated. Mm-hmm. So just in our space, you know, I try to educate my children and people that I live around of when you see a curb. So because I learned everything over the kitchen table. I didn't go to school for this. I married somebody who was into prosthetics and orthotics. I was like, I don't know anything about this. And quickly I began to understand every curb is a couple extra thoughts of how I'm going to get over the curb. Mm-hmm. Stairs. Where's the ramp? Where am I going to park? Am I going to do a handicap accessible parking or am I not? Which is the best place for me to enter? Railings. Thinking about and it's executive functioning.
Right.
Breaking down a big task into smaller, manageable tasks. I think this philosophy or thought is not just for people living with limb loss, not just for people who have learning disabilities or other diagnoses. This is how to be in community.
Right.
One thing that I've learned over these past 10 years is being available and opening the door. Just going through the door, having the conversation, being open to learn. Even just recently, Laine and I were working on a marketing initiative, and the people who help us with our marketing, they know nothing about our space. And we said, well, we really don't like to identify people based off of their diagnosis.
Right.
We like to identify them as a person living with this.
Yes.
And they said, that's such a good point. But like you just said, this was the first time.
Right.
So I find instead of being angry, like, how do you not know? What do you mean? It's 2026. Right. To think, oh, right. We get to teach. What an awesome privilege to be the first to teach and I'll give him a shout out. Senator Robertson said the thing he loves about our group so much is that we're offering this with open hands, saying, hey, will you help us? That is a cool thing that we get to be known for. And our movement here at the Capitol, I think they like us. I mean, they do talk about us
I hope so.
click-clacking around with our lipstick and heels, which I do tease is the only way anything gets done. And down at the Capitol is, you know, putting on your good outfit and getting a good argument. But I wanted to encourage you to use, and I know you're using your platform and what you've been doing to talk about how to include more people. As a teacher in special education, I know this has translated a lot. Now that you're on this side, what would you say has been the most like eye-opening experience for you?
I think that we have a tendency to think that if someone is different, that they like, we want to go ahead and say like, oh, this is what you need. But like, how in the world do we know better than them what they need? Like, to me, if I say I only need X, Y, and Z, it's almost belittling to be like, no, but I know that you also need 1, 2, and 3. Like, so I've learned a lot about advocating for myself so that I can be clear about what I need, because I know what I need best, you know, out of everybody else.
Right.
And I want my leg to be seen. I want it to be visible. I want it to be something that just gets to a place where it doesn't even catch an eye, because it's just, everybody's just so used to it. You know, like last week I was teaching VBS at church, and this little girl who doesn't know me came up to me and she was like, "Can you walk?" And I was like, "Yes." I was like, "And I can jump, watch, and I can run, watch," and I just loved that. I loved that she, came up to me and just like ask me any question. I don't care. Like, come up and ask and let me have this conversation rather than just like look and then quietly leave. And like, also like, I think some people, and this may be different person to person, but they don't want me to catch them looking. And I just want to be like, yes, like, look, what question do you have? And for me, it's my leg, but you're right. It could be anybody. It could be any number of things, because at the end of the day, this is a fallen world. And I think we just recognize that everybody has value. Mm-hmm. And we all, going back to the Capitol, like we all have these things that we can agree on. So like, don't dismiss some of us because we don't look the same as everybody else. Like, don't miss a chance to have a conversation with me, because you're going to love it. No, but like,
it's true.
Like, don't dismiss us. Like, don't feel sorry for, like, I don't want people to look at me and feel sorry for me or be like, oh, that's, the girl that was in the car accident. I want them to look at me and think, well, dang, she's missing a leg, but she just did X, Y, and Z. Or, she's got a prosthetic, but she's still doing each of these things. Like, I want them to see what I am still capable of, as opposed to what happened to me.
No, I think that's exactly the train of thought I was going towards, of helping people kind of get to know the space. I'm seeing, because this is going across our nation. I mean, 28 by 28, I think it's going to happen.
Yes.
I'm so excited. Yes. And we have such an incredible national team that's working really hard to get this done. Our Georgia team got everything we asked for.
Yes.
Still pinching
so far, Randy Robertson, so far.
Exactly, so far. Make sure the budget is the way we need it. I'm sure he will. And so I wanted to talk about a special moment that I got to share. So my senator, Bo Hatchett, we got to meet him at the floor of the Capitol, and you stopped him because this is something that I'm a former teacher. So I have like this real deep passion for this. Talk about the PTO thing and meeting him. I just love this story.
So we were at the Capitol, and I think you said like, that's Bo Hatchett. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, who is that? And you were like, he's the reason that, teachers will have 5 personal days next year instead of 3. And I just went down the stairs and just hugged this man that I'd never met before I even introduced myself, because I was so excited and so thankful, because that is something that I've run into as there have been things that I wanted to go to, like even the Capitol, like having like the days to be able to Capitol, like what does that look like? Or, like I want to advocate for other things. So, but having the time to be able to leave work to go and do that is not as easy as a teacher. And so we're given these 3 personal days. And so of course I used mine this year to run the Boston Marathon, but to be able to have 5, I mean, I know it's just 2 more, but the flexibility and knowing like I can go on a field trip with my child if I want to, or I can, meet you back at the Capitol for this next piece of legislation, like if I want to. So it just gives us a little extra time to pursue our other passions, not more important passions than education or, something completely different. But, everybody has so many things that make them tick. And so like, I love education and I love teaching, but there are other things that I love too. And just the flexibility as a mom working full time and now triathlons, and as a mom to have, 5 days that I can fall back on if I need them is amazing and incredible. And I just love that that's something that he thought of and something that he fought for.
Yeah, so many good legislators down at our Georgia Capitol.
I mean, the best. Yep. I think sometimes they get a bad rap, but like, I mean, they are doing an incredible job and they are equipped for it and have a heart for it. I mean, I couldn't be that, like, I'm not built to be a legislator, but like the Lord has equipped them to do it. And just, I mean, they're people just like me and you,
They're people, and they're willing to serve each district and represent.
Yes.
And, just like you and I, not perfect. Of course, we're in special session right now. So I feel like, okay, everybody, they are actually meeting right now. So if in fact you care at all about our state, give them a high five. Yes. I mean, the fact that they have to go in suits in the middle of this heat, I feel terrible for them.
Yes.
But, The other part that I wanted to talk about is what we're doing as a state initiative is our thank you tour. So we're not asking for anything new except, obviously fill the budget for this beautiful bill that we have, Senate Bill 503. But what would you like to say as a thank you tour? Kind of our lead off of your story is the one that we shared across the Capitol. Everybody knows about the teacher. I think one person thought you were a cheerleader.
Yes. Just get excited about things.
Yeah.
I think I want to say, first of all, just like, thank you for the time to listen. Like, thank you for taking a minute to just listen at all. That doesn't always come easy, fighting for just to be heard or for somebody to answer the phone. But thank you for sharing your talents and using what you have been gifted and equipped with to represent this community and to want to fight for what we need as much as what another group needs, or like Georgians as a whole. Thank you for being bold enough to stand up and say, this is what needs to happen when maybe everybody in the room doesn't agree or thinks the same thing, and holding on to what you believe in and your ethics and your morals and saying like, no, I know these people and I know this is what they need. And even especially if it's something that you didn't initially have a tie to, like I didn't know, we've talked about before, like I didn't know you could major in prosthetics. I had no idea, like there are plenty of things that we don't know, but being willing to stand up for a group that maybe you wouldn't have known about otherwise or ahead of time is incredible.
No, so well said. So I wanted to say thank you to you for representing Georgia on these athletic stages and doing such a great job. No, it is.
I mean, we'll see.
Hey, even though it's a used bike with a Walmart helmet.
That's right.
And a borrowed swim cap.
And a 40-year-old woman. But yes.
You're doing a great job. Thank you for showing us that it is possible. Hannah, while we close, I wondered if you could pray for the person who is in the beginning stages, dreaming, or in the middle of their goal and kind of in that middle ground where, it's not quite there to the finish line and they're grinding.
Yes, for sure. Heavenly Father God, there is such peace in knowing that you see us at all times, in all things. You hear our hearts cry. You hear our prayer. Lord, we don't always understand the timing, but you have taught us to know what it means to surrender, and such freedom in being able to surrendering the hard parts, the easy parts, the joyful parts, Lord, and knowing that you hold all of that in your hand, that you go before us and you are constantly with us, and that there's nothing that we can do that will change your love for us, and that it's okay to come to you with our frustrations or our questions, because when we ask questions, that invites dialogue, and dialogue invites relationships. So thank you, Lord, for being accessible and being steady through all of life's storms, and someone that we can call on whenever we need for strength and for guidance. Lord, we appreciate you and love you. Amen.
Thank you, Hannah. I so appreciate it. Now, if you are interested in running or wanting to shower independently or strength training or doing triathlons, you can reach out to our clinic, or really any clinic in Georgia now. If you have state regulated insurance, it is covered. And coming in 2027, if you are a state employee, there will be coverage for you. So you need to reach out to your local prosthetist. And of course, if you need recommendations or want to be treated here at Alliance, we would love to have you. Our number is 770-679-3090, or find us on our website in the description box below. Also, my friend Laine is going to link Hannah's Instagram if you want to follow along to all these triathlon and marathons. She's got Chicago, Houston for the shoes, right? Yeah, they're going to get some shoes. But also she's got this opportunity in Long Beach as well, in Milwaukee. Consider following her along. And if in fact you want to reach out to her and offer her any support, prayer, encouragement,
advice, information,
how should she do her hair for the triathlon, I think, please give her a shout. We are so grateful for you, Hannah. Thank you for coming on today and sharing a little bit about your life.
Thanks so much for having me.
Were you inspired or challenged today? If so, connect with us. Follow the links in the description box below. We want to hear from you. Until next time, thanks for listening to the Alliance Goal Digger podcast.